There's so much hyper focus on how to make yourself more attractive to whoever it is that you're attracted to. So be it how to make your dating site profile a lot more attractive, and to draw people in, that the same strategies you might want to use in business are the same strategies you need to use in relationships. But that tells you absolutely nothing in terms of what actually makes partnerships successful. Partnerships and what makes partnerships successful is the selection process itself. How many kind men are out there that women are just like, that one is boring? Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bomika Zilupindo. I am a clinical psychologist and also a doctorate student at the University of Oxford. And those of you who are returning to the channel, welcome. It's always great to have you guys. So in my last video, I started us off on a relationship series, which is several videos that I'll be posting which are focused on helping us understand relationships in terms of what love is, in terms of partnerships, and in terms of some of the sexual experiences we might be having within relationships and what that might mean for us. In the last video, we looked at what love means, and I thought today it might actually be helpful for us to start thinking about partnerships. The reason why I started this series was both because of something that I initially thought of before when I started the channel. As you'll see, some of the videos are some old videos that I created when I started the channel, but also videos that are still quite relevant to the topic. But also, most importantly, it felt really relevant because of some of the conversations that I've been having with my friends. Also, I guess to a certain degree, in terms of my own personal experiences and thinking about different relationships in my personal life, in my social life. So today's video is going to be slightly different from the rest. So it's less about information and more about getting you guys to start reflecting on what does partnership mean for you? And most importantly, thinking about what a successful partnership might look like for you and some of the factors that you might want to think about to make sure that you find yourself in a successful partnership. And again, partnership could mean relationships, it could mean friendships, it could mean business partnerships, it could literally mean anything where you are connecting with someone else and you're building something together. So being a curious person that I am, I've been watching quite a lot of videos and podcasts on relationships and partnerships. Some of these were recommended by my friends and I found them to be quite interesting. Two of the main things that these videos tend to focus on is, number one, there's this hyper focus on what men want and what women want and how men want to be needed, and that's the thing that makes them attractive to women, be it needed in terms of finances or needed in terms of like being physically attractive, and by extension they are needed in some way or being protectors and so forth. Whereas women, on the other hand, their needs are more, how do I get a long-term relationship and how do I make sure that I find someone that is actually going to be quite committed to me. And in some instances they were speaking about things like dating apps and how this notion of swiping right and swiping left to people has created a plethora of people who are accessible to you, and how this access and I guess this pool of people that are accessible to you and these options you now have actually make it quite difficult for people to actually find meaningful relationships, or even pornography. How pornography has made sex so accessible to people, and there's just so many things that make sex so accessible to people, and by extension people end up not having sex or having too much sex, and then they don't want commitment. And even one of these videos was speaking about how sex precedes commitment, and in essence that people need to have sex before they are committed, and by extension that's how people find themselves in committed relationships. That the same strategies you might want to use in business are the same strategies you need to use in relationships. And all of these kind of videos and podcasts that I've been listening to, the most striking thing about all of these videos is that there's so much hyper focus on how to make yourself more attractive to whoever it is that you're attracted to, and how to kind of make yourself more appealing and more palatable for other people, and that's the thing that's supposed to get you into a good partnership. And I mean, on the one hand, they write that how it is that you see and perceive things, and by extension how you select people, is quite a significant thing when it comes to partnerships. But the one thing that I actually want to kind of refute or argue against in relation to those things is the fact that you need to hyper focus on what's going on externally and make yourself and mold yourself into fitting into making yourself the most attractive person in the room, or making yourself the most attractive person in a dating platform, or making yourself look like you are needed, someone needs you. And the reason why I say this is because successful partnerships are less about what it is that the other people are looking for, or what it is that's excitable to other people. Successful relationships or partnerships are about getting to know yourself and knowing what it is, and being able to discern people and pick people from that dating pool, or pick people from that friendship pool or partnership pool in terms of your career that align with the person that you are. And I find that it's quite difficult to find yourself in any kind of successful partnership without a true sense of who you are. A simple example of this is this notion that, you know, women love someone that's kind, that makes them feel safe, and someone that's communicative. And that's great. Like, those are the kind of qualities that women might look for. But how many kind men are out there that women are just like, that one is boring? Or how many attractive women that are there, someone who's sexy and witty and, you know, intellectual, that men are just like, hey, you know, that one, not the kind that I can marry, or, you know, not really interested in that person. So in essence, it's not really about kindness. Yes, kindness is a big factor in that, and those qualities are quite important. But the important thing to think about is what attracts you to someone, what excites you about someone, and by extension, what are some of the qualities that you have. And knowing the kind of person that you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you want someone to complement you in relation to that. And it is through this knowing yourself that you are better equipped to be able to select the best partner for you. Because partnerships, and what makes partnerships successful, is the selection process itself. If you are able to pick someone that complements you in a way, and I specifically chose the word complement and not is compatible for a specific reason. A simple example of this is if you are someone that's indecisive, right? And it takes quite a long time for you to make decisions, and you're constantly seeking out people to kind of be like, hey, you know, help me think about this. What do you think about this? And that on its own helps you, and having that kind of understanding of even something as simple as picking a restaurant, picking your own food at the restaurant, those kind of things tell you that, okay, so I might be someone that is quite indecisive, and I feel like I need a partner that is the opposite of that. So someone that is quite decisive in things that they do. That insight actually might make people who are more decisive more attractive to you, which is also where the kindness then becomes the second layer of things. And that's where things like kindness and compassion and so forth then come in, because this person can then be able to help you make those decisions and think through those decisions in a way that is kind. They're able to communicate things to you and so forth. But the most important thing is understanding yourself and the things that make you attracted to people. The second thing that I want us to think about in terms of just the notion of even selecting is that we tend to have this unconscious bias of wanting to use the same template for our friendships, for our relationships, for our work partnerships, and we tend to have the same expectations for those things. So how do you define friendship? What does it mean for you to be in friendship with someone? And what are some of the things that are important for you in a quality of a friend? And of course, you might not find all of those qualities in one friend, which is why we might have like multiple close friendships. Quite similarly, what are the qualities you look for in a partner What are the qualities that you look for in a business partner? What does business partnership mean for you? What kind of vision do you have for the kind of business that you want to find yourself in? And by extension, what kind of romantic relationship would you want to find yourself in? And how does that align with the person that you are? Because those things about self are then the things that help you think about, these are the kind of qualities that I then want to look for in a partner. Another significant thing that I feel like we often overlook and we don't think about in thinking about partnerships is the level of emotional intelligence that both you and your partner have. So a definition of emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions, as well as understand and relate to the emotions of others. So the reason why emotional intelligence is quite important in relationships is because any kind of partnership, it requires us to engage with people in a way that can expose the kind of people that we are. And our most intimate relationships tend to be the ones that expose the kind of qualities that we have as people, and most importantly, some of the relational challenges that we tend to struggle with, both those that we might be aware of and others that we might not necessarily be aware of. And in one of the videos that I spoke about, we spoke about attachment and how, that kind of is a template of how you do and experience relationships, and that's the foundation of things. But with that being said, relationships are also the spaces in which we experience a lot of personal crises, and a lot of these crises are actually rooted in some of the ways in which we relate to both ourselves and we relate to other people. And if you don't have insight into the ways in which you relate to people, then that just makes it quite difficult for you to better navigate those things and to better be able to firstly communicate your experiences with your partner, but also for your partner to be able to communicate those kind of experiences that they are also having with you. These kind of relational crises that we find ourselves in result from certain experiences that are quite normal and can be quite benign, but if not dealt with properly, or if we don't have insight into ourselves and how we approach relationships, they can often lead to things like criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. I'll give you a simple example of this. If you are a person that doesn't have insight into yourself and your emotions and your emotional experiences, having insight into some of the things that are quite triggering for you and why they're triggering for you, then that puts you in a very vulnerable position and can lead to a defense mechanism that people tend to employ, which is projection or projective identification. In any kind of relationship, we've all had experiences of projection, and we've all had experiences of projective identification. Projection is if I'm feeling angry and I am not able to acknowledge that within myself, I project that to you. And I say, why are you suddenly being so angry? Or if you speak to someone about something and you try to communicate something and they're just like, why do you always have drama? And you're just like, no, actually, I'm not angry and neither do I have drama, right? So that would be an example of projection, that this person is putting on you feelings that don't belong to you in the first place. Another example is you're having a conversation with someone and this person says, why are you being so angry? And now suddenly, in them saying that, now you're getting worked up. You're just like, actually, I'm not angry. And then you start being angry and it just escalates to something else. So you started off not being angry, but because this person has now projected their anger onto you, you have taken that on and you've identified with it, and you now enact that anger. Quite similarly to the drama example, that you speak to someone and you express your concerns and you're trying to communicate things, and they just like, why do you always have to have so much drama? Like, you're so dramatic. And because they've now projected this thing onto you and you've identified with it, you then start creating drama in and of itself because you enact that drama. So if you are able to have insight into yourself And that helps you in terms of getting an understanding of how to select your partner, what attracts you to someone, what excites you about someone. Then those kind of things are then the things that the secondary aspect of things, such as kindness and communication and safety and so forth, that might be secondary for one person but primary to another person. Those things then, when they come together, they make for a meaningful partnership. But equally so, that insight also needs to come into your level of understanding into self. What are some of the things that upset me? How do I respond in a situation where I experience any kind of actual or perceived criticism, or what are some of the defenses or the defense mechanisms that I have? And again, defense mechanisms are not something that's supposed to be scary for us or something that's supposed to push us away from people. These are the things that we put in place and we employ when we feel like our needs for safety and connection aren't there for us, and we're finding ways of trying to protect ourselves. So these are the kind of things that become important for you to think about, both in relation to yourself, but also in relation to your relationships. So in essence, for me, what makes good partnership isn't necessarily what you can put out there or how you can make people perceive you, but what makes meaningful partnerships is you having an understanding of yourself, both in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses, but equally importantly, being able to understand what are those qualities that I look for in a friend, in a business partner, in a romantic partner that actually complement this part of me. What are these things that are primary that feel quite important for me? And what are some of the things that are secondary that actually make these primary things? It's kind of like the primary is the contents of a gift and what's inside the box. And the more secondary ones are the things that actually make the box really pretty and kind of put on that bow and that packaging that kind of brings things together. So I hope that this video was quite insightful for you guys and gets you thinking and gets you reflecting on some of the important things that you would need to understand about yourself and how to build successful partnerships. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and also just comment in the section down below to let me know some of your thoughts about partnerships, and most importantly, what else you'd like to see on this channel. And I'll catch you guys next time. Mwah.